I want you to do something for me right now. I want you to think about the last time you were in a forest. Maybe it was a hiking trip. Maybe it was a picnic with family. Maybe it was just a walk through trees somewhere near your home. Do you remember that feeling? That specific feeling you get when you walk deep enough into the trees and suddenly the world outside disappears. The sounds of roads and cities fade away. Light changes. It's darker. Gets colder. And for just a moment, you feel very, very small. Most people feel that and laugh it off, pull out their phone, take a photo, walk back toward the sound of traffic. But some people never walk back. Every single year, inside the most visited national parks in the United States of America, people disappear. Not in remote, uncharted wilderness. Not in places nobody knows about. In parks with paved roads and visitor centers and park rangers and gift shops selling postcards. In parks visited by hundreds of millions of tourists every single year. And the disappearances are not normal. There are no bodies, no footprints, no scent trails, no logical explanation. The search dogs circle and sit down. The rangers search the same ground for weeks and find nothing. And then sometimes, a body turns up weeks later, miles away, in terrain that the victim could not possibly have reached, with their shoes missing, or their clothing removed, or perfectly arranged in a location that was searched 3 times before. In 2009, a former police detective named David Paulides began looking into these cases. Not as a hobby, not as a conspiracy theory, as an investigation. The kind of cold, methodical, evidence-based investigation that he had spent 20 years conducting as a law enforcement professional. What he found over the next 15 years changed him completely. He has written 10 books, produced multiple documentaries, presented his findings to law enforcement agencies across America. And to this day, not a single government agency has offered an explanation. What you are about to hear are real cases, real names, real dates, real official documents, real families who are still waiting, real children who never came home. Turn your lights on, lock your door, and whatever you do, do not open this episode while you are alone in the woods. The Martin family had packed their car the night before. William Martin, his sons Dennis and Doug, his father, and his brother. 5 generations of a family loading up for a weekend camping trip to the Great Smoky Mountains National Park in Tennessee. It was the kind of trip that families take every single weekend in America. Sandwiches packed in a cooler, sleeping bags rolled up in the back, a 6-year-old boy bouncing in the back seat, too excited to sit still. That 6-year-old boy was Dennis Martin. Dennis was small for his age, brown hair, bright eyes, the kind of kid who laughed easily and ran everywhere instead of walking. He was wearing a bright red shirt that day, the kind of red that stands out against green trees, the way a cardinal stands out against snow. His father had dressed him in that red shirt deliberately, so he could always spot him in a crowd. The family arrived at Spence Field, a wide, grassy meadow sitting at approximately 4,900 feet elevation in the Smoky Mountains. Beautiful, open country, clear blue sky. The temperature was perfect. Other families were nearby. Rangers were on patrol. It was, by every definition, a completely safe place. The boys were playing, running through the meadow, hide and seek between the trees at the edge of the clearing. It was 4:30 in the afternoon. William Martin turned his attention to the camp for a moment, setting something up, looking away from his son for what he later described as no more than a minute. When he looked back up, the red shirt was gone. He called Dennis's name. No answer. He walked to the tree line where Dennis had been playing. Called again. Nothing. For the first few minutes, William assumed Dennis was hiding, playing the game. He walked the edge of the tree line, calling his son's name. Then 5 minutes passed. Then 10. And William Martin began to feel something that every parent on earth dreads. That cold, dropping feeling in the stomach. That feeling that something is wrong. That something is very, very wrong. Within 30 minutes, a full search was underway. Within an hour, National Park Rangers had been called. Within 4 hours, the search had expanded to cover the entire surrounding area. And by the following morning, what began as a family searching for a lost boy had become one of the largest search and rescue operations in the history of the United States National Park Service. Over 1,400 people were deployed. Let that number sit for a moment. 1,400 people. United States Army soldiers, FBI agents pulled from field offices in 3 states, Green Berets who had just returned from active duty in Vietnam, National Park Rangers from across the Southeast, hundreds and hundreds of civilian volunteers. This was 1969. America was fighting a war on the other side of the world. Military resources were stretched thin, and the United States government still pulled combat-trained soldiers and federal agents to search for one 6-year-old boy in a red shirt. They searched Spence Field. They searched the surrounding trails. They searched the drainage valleys below. They searched ridges and creek beds and dense forest. Teams moved in grid patterns. Dogs worked every scent corridor. The search went on for days, then weeks. They found nothing. Not the red shirt. Not. Now, I need to tell you something that the official reports noted and nobody has ever been able to explain. The search dogs. Trained tracking dogs. Dogs that can follow a human scent trail through rain, through mud, through dense forest. Those dogs were deployed immediately. They picked up Dennis's scent at the camp. They followed it to the tree line. And there, the scent ended. Not faded. Not confused by rain or wind. Ended. As if Dennis Martin had simply ceased to exist at the edge of those trees. But here is the detail that has never left the researchers who studied this case. On the same afternoon that Dennis vanished, the same day, just a few miles away on the other side of the mountain, a family from Georgia were on their own hike when something stopped them cold. They saw a figure moving through the trees. Moving fast. Moving in a direction away from Spence Field. The father of that family later gave a statement to investigators. He said the figure was large, much larger than a man, moving on two legs, but not moving like a man moves. Moving with a speed and power that made them freeze where they stood. And he said it appeared to be carrying something. Something that he could not make out clearly. Something that was not moving. The family assumed it was a bear, because the alternative was something they could not bring themselves to say out loud. Dennis Martin was never found. That was 55 years ago. His family never stopped looking. His father, William Martin, died having never received an answer. The case file is still open.